welcome to the Taraloka Shrine Room this evening. As I explained earlier today, we're going to share a Pali Canon Puja to the Buddha Shakyamuni. And before that, I'm just going to share some thoughts about devotion to the Buddha during his lifetime, as recorded in the Pali Canon. And I'd also like to welcome some of the members of the Taraloka community who are going to be leading the responses in this puja. And it makes you realise there's yet another venue. We still have Ratna Vandana who's gone back up into the heights of the lofts again, but also we are using the Tara cabin as well. So this ritual comes particularly from those two shrine rooms. So it's welcome to Maitri Devi again, to Sarah, to Kathy, and to Maitri Nati. Thank you. So I wanted to say more about devotion to the Buddha in his lifetime, and you could say so many things. So these are just some thoughts, and I think in many cases they're thoughts that have just touched my heart. I'm very happy to be sharing these. And as I think I said this morning, we're used to the levels of reverence and devotion in the Maitrayana and in the Vajrayana. And it's good to be aware and to imagine really what might have been the impact of actually meeting the Buddha, the human being who was enlightened, and maybe living with the Buddha, really being around him, getting to know him, and so on. And actually, by chance, one evening, I found this quotation in a survey of Buddhism from Bhante, which I love. I just love it. And it's about how we just don't realise how much devotion there was at that time. And in some ways, he's writing about archaic Buddhism, and it is rather in Bhante's archaic language, but there's a loveliness to it as well. So I'd like to read this. Contrary to the received opinion, certain pages of the Pali Canon thrill with a quiet enthusiasm, or glow with a serene happiness, or flash out in dazzling ecstasy, while striking expressions of faith in and devotion to the person of the Buddha are by no means wanting. Like a vibration of a pitch, too high to be perceived as sound by human ears, the very delicacy and refinement of the emotional element in the Pali scriptures has perhaps caused it to escape attention. All of that's wonderful, actually, but that last sentence about the quality of devotion to the Buddha being beyond our normal ability to understand, beyond the normal capacity of human ears. There's something very rarefied, something very fine, something on a higher level going on. And so what we're having here is we associate those times often with a kind of austere, simple way of life. And then the sort of the delightful contradiction really is that it holds also this delicacy, this enthusiasm, this ecstasy, this serene happiness, this intensity of spiritual feeling and spiritual love. So just moving on to share some thoughts. There's a familiar quotation, very familiar quotation. It's what the Buddha says when he meets somebody who is dying, who hasn't had the opportunity to meet him. And the Buddha says, "He who sees the Dharma sees me. He who sees me sees the Dharma." And it's one of those familiar quotations you can get used to. And again, just sort of coming across it again and reading it, I thought, my goodness, what does this mean? What would have been the impact, the experience? Who was this man who, when you saw him, you saw the Dharma? You know, this was a man in tattered robes and sandals or bare feet, with his begging bowl, you know, and yet something so radiant shone from him, the light shone from him. And continuing with how people responded to the impact of meeting the Buddha, well, it was often what we receive in set phrases. And it's not, of course, that at that time they all said exactly the same thing. But these phrases, rather like some of the aspects I was talking about this morning, have a dignity. It's like a liturgy. They're repeated again and again. So they hold the higher truth and they communicate on that level. So I'd like to read one example, a very familiar example of this. This is somebody speaking on behalf of a group of them who have met the Buddha. It is amazing, Venerable Gautama. It is wonderful, Venerable Gautama. Just as if one might raise what has been overturned, or reveal what has been hidden, or point out the way to him who has gone astray, or hold a lamp in the dark so that those who have eyes may see. Therefore we take refuge in him, his Dharma and his Sangha. May the Venerable Gautama accept us as lay followers who henceforth have taken refuge in him for the rest of our lives. There's another phrase which is often used at the end of these lines about taking refuge for as long as breath lasts. Beautiful phrase. Might remind you almost of the lines in the Ratna Vandana, all my life I go for refuge to the Buddha, to the Dharma, to the Sangha. And all of those are people whose lives have been, as a sort of real human consequences of this, all of them are people whose lives have been transformed by meeting the Buddha. Kings or queens, mothers or merchants, beggars or bandits, all affected. So I want to take one example, connecting again with what I said this morning, of how that response was expressed and experienced in body, speech and mind. So one story will explain this. So this is King Pasenadi going to visit the Buddha, a noble king. He arrives, he leaves his chariot, he walks to the lodgings where the Buddha is staying, probably in his royal finery, and the monks tell him he needs to knock on the door, and then the Buddha will open the door. So he does that, and the Buddha opens the door to him. Lovely, lovely description. And so first of all, King Pasenadi offers reverence with his body. He bows, he puts his head on the ground, he kisses the Buddha's feet. And the Buddha just doesn't think, oh, that's very nice, that's great. He asks the reason. He wants to know the state of mind behind it. He asks the reason for what he calls such humility and devotion. Humility is a word which came up somewhere this morning, and it's an interesting word which you may well come back to, because it's a loosening of the sense of self, a graciousness. So in speech, King Pasenadi pours out his gratitude, verse after verse after verse, in the way that often happens, because his mind is full of the Buddha's qualities. So I'm just going to give you 3 sample verses of what he says. So why is he doing this? The Blessed One, Lord, lives for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude. He has established many people in the noble way, in good and wholesome principles. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. Again, Lord, the Blessed One has been a forest dweller for a long time. He resorts to remote forest lands, to secluded dwellings. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. Again, Lord, the Blessed One is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, being the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. So examples there of body, speech, and mind. So those are the examples, the expressions of devotion of the body. Of course, when people met the Buddha, they might bow, they might prostrate, they might fold their hands in the Anjali Mudra, fingertips touching, enclosing the delicate central space. And of course, they use speech, they use words of praise, and they also use song. It becomes obvious in the Pali Canon that verses often arose were a kind of spiritual song, udana. It wasn't enough just to say it in normal prose. And the Buddha also communicated like this. Mrs. Rhys David calls it word music, spiritual song. And if you know Pingia's praises about the decrepit old man who has seen the Buddha and then comes back to tell the story and is guaranteed that he will achieve enlightenment, but he starts with excitement, I will sing you the praises of the way to the beyond. It's not enough to say it, I will sing it to you. More heightened, more beautiful. And then he has a kind of special experience because the Buddha speaks to him from miles and miles away, and he hears it, and he's told, you too will go to the further shore beyond the draw of death. So a whole kind of different levels of communication going on here. Song, higher cities, response. And it's marvelous and wonderful. And so the mind, in response to the presence of the Buddha, is like that. And who knows about the meditation experience, the dream experience, other visionary experience. And finally, and this is also just sharing a passage that I love, a sutta that I love, something about the Buddha's relationship with nature. Because this week we'll be sending our metta, our positive emotion to all beings. And the Buddha, of course, lived with a very close, respectful relationship with the earth, with the natural world, with all living creatures, and offered a real deep kindness. So in the Mahagosinga Sutta, quite a few of the Buddha's most experienced disciples go to this particular wood, the Gosinga Sala tree wood, because they want to hear Sariputta communicate the Dharma. So I'm actually taking an example here, not from the Buddha directly, but from his followers. Sariputta welcomes each of them with the following words. These are beautiful words. Friend, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. The night is moonlit. The Sala trees are all in blossom, and heavenly scents float in the air. What kind of bhikkhu, friend, could illuminate the Gosinga Sala tree wood? And then they reply with lists of qualities. But what caught my imagination really was the very subtle interplay between those spiritually inspired men and the beautiful, shining, natural setting. So the word is illumination, and there's a sort of interplay of illumination between the natural world and between the qualities of those spiritual disciples. Okay, so that's it. But, let that, if you're touched by any of this, let it permeate your response in the puja. As we say, again, we repeat the words that were said to the Buddha. We are part of that expression of devotion and gratitude, part of that sort of liturgy of communication. And we'll also be chanting mantras, and there'll be a space to make offerings if you wish. Yes?
Just to check something over in the Tara cabin.
Yes.
Do you want us to be unmuted for the response lines during the future?
Yes.
Okay, that's
what we need, actually, it's a good question, because actually we need everybody else to mute except the community. I think that's
we'll
right.
just be unmuted for the whole puja.
Sorry?
We'll just be unmuted.
The community is doing the response, and the rest of us will individually, but it's too much if we're heard. Yes, I think that's right, isn't it, Annabelle? Yeah, hope
yes,
so.
That's fine, yeah.
That's fine.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
That's fine. And yeah, so just one, I was just thinking actually, and it's quite nice to have a voice coming in from the Tara Canon, because we are quite an assembly, aren't we? A bit of a noble assembly. We have the two shrine rooms, we have Ratna Vandana elevated above us, and all of us across the mandala, across Britain, across Europe, and who knows what other beings might also be drawn to this event. So let's appreciate sharing it together. And this is a Pali Canon Puja. It was compiled by Maitri Siddhi, who of course is also part of the Taraloka community and will be joining us on other evenings. After the worship section, Maitri Devi will lead us in the Shakyamuni mantra, and that's where we can make offerings. We'll chant the refuges and precepts in unison. So again, we need that muting. In fact, really everybody will be muted all the time, won't they, apart from the community and apart from me. And after, well, a little bit further on, I've lost the name of the section, but I think Ratna Vandana knows where it is. And she will be reading a passage from the Buddha, actually an udana from the Buddha, so presumably sung, about emptiness. And it's, well, it's sort of where we would normally have the Heart Sutra. Yeah. It's after the entreaty section. And at the end, when the lines, when the words have finished, Maitri Devi will lead us in Sabe Sata Sukhi Hontu. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Okay. So I think we're clear. Everybody muted, apart from me and the community in the Tara Canon. Right. So let's now just pause. Let's just sit quietly, just for a very few minutes before I ring the bell. Transition from working out how we do it, and a transition from the introduction that I've given, as though holding what you wish to carry from that, and anticipating that together we're stepping into this puja, our reverence to the Buddha Shakyamuni. A Pali Canon Puja to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Worship. I had heard that there was an ocean crosser,
that there was an ocean crosser,
a hero, desiring the desireless,
desiring the desireless,
a thirst breaker,
a thirst breaker,
wishless,
wishless,
free and wise,
free and wise,
beyond time and home,
beyond time and
home, life and pleasure.
life and pleasure.
They call him Buddha,
They call him Buddha,
enlightened, awake,
enlightened, awake,
dissolving darkness
dissolving darkness
with total vision.
with total vision.
This teacher who's teaching
This teacher whose teaching
is the way things are,
is the way things are,
instant, immediate,
instant, immediate,
visible all around,
visible all around,
eroding desire
eroding desire
without harmful side effects,
without harmful side effects,
and with nothing else quite like it,
and with nothing else quite like it,
anywhere in the world.
anywhere in the world. Om Dimani Mahamani Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Dimani Mahamani Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Dimani Mahamani Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Nimani 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 Mahamani Shakyamuni Swaha. Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Mani Mani Mahamani 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 Shakyamuni Swaha.
Salutation. I can give nothing but respect,
nothing but respect,
nothing but honor
nothing but honor
to this powerhouse of gentleness,
to this powerhouse of gentleness,
to this brother of the sun.
to this brother of the sun.
You are the Buddha,
You are the Buddha,
the enlightened.
the enlightened.
You are the master,
You are the master,
the teacher.
the teacher.
You are glowing with understanding,
You are glowing with understanding,
radiating wisdom,
radiating wisdom,
finishing suffering,
finishing suffering,
and carrying me across.
and carrying me across.
You are a lion in the jungle,
You are the lion in the jungle,
with nothing to frighten
with nothing to frighten
and nothing to fear.
and nothing to fear.
You are a lotus on a lake,
You are a lotus on a lake,
good and evil,
good and evil.
roll off you
Roll off you
like water off a petal.
like water off a petal.
Nowhere in this world
Nowhere in this world
is there anything like you.
is there anything like you.
I salute you
I salute you
and I honor you.
and I honor you.
Going for refuge. It is amazing, Venerable Gautama.
It is amazing, Venerable Gautama.
It is wonderful, Venerable Gautama.
It is wonderful, Venerable Gautama.
just as if one might set upright what has been overturned, or reveal what has been hidden, or bring a lamp into a dark place, so that those with eyes could see what was there. So in many ways, the Dharma has been explained by the Venerable Gautama. I take refuge in him. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. From today, may the Buddha accept me as follower, who has gone to him for refuge, for life. Refuges and precepts in unison. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, tatyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sekapadam samadhyami, adinadana veramani sekapadam samadhyami, kamesu mechachara veramani sekapadam samadhyami, musabada veramani sekapadam samadhyami, suramerya maja pamadatana veramani sekapadam samadhyami, sadhu sadhu sadhu. With deeds of loving kindness,
I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind.
Confession. When I reflect, if I know the action that I did with my body, speech, or mind, did it lead to my own affliction? Or to the affliction of others? Or to the affliction of both? Was it an unskillful action? With painful consequences? With painful results? Then I confess. This unskillful action. I reveal it. I lay it open. To the teacher. Or to my wise companions. In the holy life. I undertake restraint. For the future. Rejoicing. It is a gain. It is a great gain for me. That I have such companions. In the holy life. When I reflect. If I know. This action that I did. With my body, speech, or mind. Was it a skillful action? With pleasant consequences? With pleasant results? Then I abide. Happy and glad. Training day and night. In skillful states. I am like a bird. That leaves the bushes. Of the scrublands. And flies to the fruit trees. Of the forest. Like a swan. I have found a great lake. Entreaty. Please, man of Shakya,
Please, man of Shakya,
free me from confusion.
free me from confusion.
Please teach me
Please teach me
the way of detachment,
the way of detachment,
so that I can know it
so that I can know it
as it is,
as it is,
so that I can live
so that I can live
in this life,
in this life,
in the peace and independence,
in the peace and independence,
which is as free
which is as free
as the air in space.
as the air in space.
Please, ocean crosser,
Please, ocean crosser,
for all the different people
for all the different people
who have come from different places
who have come from different places
to listen to your words.
to listen to your words.
Tell us about the way
Tell us about the way
that you have found and known.
that you have found and known.
Lines on emptiness from Bahia of the bark garment. Where water, earth, fire, air no footing find, there shine no stars, no sun is there displayed, there gleam no moon, no darkness there is seen. So when the sage, the Brahmana, by wisdom of his own self hath pierced unto the truth, from form and no form, pleasure and pain, he's freed.
Transference of merits. Wide open
Wide open
are the doors of the deathless.
are the doors of the deathless.
Let those who hear
Let those who hear
show faith.
show faith.
Go now and wander
Go now and wander
for the welfare and happiness of many,
for the welfare and happiness of many,
out of compassion for the world,
out of compassion for the world,
for the benefit, welfare and happiness
for the benefit, welfare and happiness
of gods and humans.
of gods and humans.
Teach the Dharma,
Teach the Dharma,
practice the Dharma.
practice the Dharma.
That is good in the beginning,
That is good in the beginning,
good in the middle,
good in the middle,
and good in the end,
and good in the end,
with the meaning and the letter.
with the meaning and the letter.
Live a holy life.
live a holy life
that is utterly perfect and pure.
that is utterly perfect and pure.
There are beings
There are beings
with little dust on their eyes.
with little dust on their eyes.
Some will understand the Dharma.
Some will understand the Dharma. Sabe sata sukhi hontu. 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 Sabe sata sukhi hontu.
Five minutes just sitting. Okay, sleep well. See you tomorrow.